Hey, Gode here. I have returned to talk all about Sunday's teams and synergies. Despite only seeming like a Bronya Pro Max, his kit shakes things up quite a bit, as Harmony units seem to do. He is our second repeatable immediate advanced spammer, and has the best hyper buffs in the game as well as energy gifting. After playing him even more, and testing many teams and variations, I'm now going to go through his best synergies and teams for said synergies. Remember that I'm just one bear, and so there may be units that vary synergy-wise or find a better team later on. So we'll look at units where he's just good for them, all the way to units where he's extremely synergistic for them. Like and sub if this helps, share to others that might need this info, and let's begin. So I'll be starting with units that may have anti-synergy. This is just like with Bronya, but Arlan and Yanqing both anti-synergize with Sunday due to their reliance on staying alive. Arlan consumes his HP to give himself damage percent, and whilst he gets out faster with Sunday's advance forward, it also means he consumes shields twice as fast. And at 1 HP, you're a tickle away from death. Yanqing relies on his passive to do big damage, and he loses this upon taking damage. Whilst he won't necessarily die, his self buffs go kaput. And he also has a massive crit rate steroid, and so Sunday's 20% crit rate would help his non-buffed turns, but it makes it even harder for him to not overcap on it during the ultimate. Now all these next units are medium synergy units. These are units that gain not only massive hypercarry buffs, but secondary bonuses on top. For example, a unit like Hook can get her ult just like a physical Trailblazer could, but her getting an ult directly translates to more enhanced skills, and therefore a bonus synergy over them. Because ults are OP in general, so here I look at extra bonuses. First, I'll talk about standard crit hypercarries in the medium synergy tier. Welt. I did that already, didn't I? Welt getting more ultimates equals more delays on enemies, as well as more talent procs, which also gain better consistency. His ult applies to vulnerability too, which will now have better uptime. Having a first turn ultimate thanks to Sunday also ensures that enemies will be delayed as soon as possible, greatly improving survivability or zero sustain setups. His E1 also greatly synergizes with more ults, as you'll get more additional damage activation. On top of all this, Welt really enjoys the free crit value. Not only is he getting crit damage like a Bronya or Sparkle could have given previously, he now also gets crit rate, and so with his high stat requirements, 20% CR is a great help. Hook next can get some real nice turn and ult cycling with Sunday in the squad. You get the double actions from Sunday, but you also get advance forward and energy from ulting with Hook. You then get even more energy when attacking targets with Burn, and your enhanced skill will hit 3 targets. Finally, that enhanced skill will come up much more because of Sunday's energy gifting. Nice all-around bonuses. Xueyi is similar to Welt, where she wouldn't find more ults and also has high stat requirements. The crit again serves a really nice purpose when you're juggling crit, speed, attack, and break. More ultimates means more karma stacks too, which is an extra synergy. And more Xueyi turns means her toughness damage is prioritized over her teammates, which again equals more karma stacks overall. A final extra synergy with better ult generation is her E4, which gives break effect and thus damage percent more consistently now. There is also Indelible Promise, which makes crit rate way less of a hassle on top of Sunday's 20% CR after using skill. Though unless you use a high attack buffing support like Robin, I think you definitely should use Eon, as with speed boots and a super diluted amount of damage, attack becomes very valuable. Sushang is a classic crit hypercarry half the time and super break carry otherwise. If running her crit, then you'd know that her ultimate leads to many great things for her. Sushang ulting immediately gives her another action, but that leads to a lot of buff fall-off, but Sunday's 2-turn buffs don't care about that. You'll have one skill where it'll be unbuffed, but the giant amount of burst before that is worth it for clearing faster. Upon ulting, Sushang also gains extra chances to trigger sword stance, and they are also empowered, so extra ults from Sunday gives us more of these. Clara runs no speed and chills whilst countering enemy attacks, and whilst advancing forward her action may seem irrelevant, it's actually quite good. By the way, just like with Yunli, I forgot to mention in the main guide, but you want to keep Clara at base speed with a hyper speed Sunday. Anyways, that advance first off allows for more skills or basics, and in general more energy on Clara, which equals better aggro uptime. Paired with his ultimate's energy and you should have little problems. And at E1 Clara, extra skills can result in a bunch more damage. But the 2-turn duration of Sunday's skill bonus as well as his perma uptime on other buffs gives Clara a benefit on her turn as well as any subsequent counters. This works similarly to Sparkle's nearly 2-turn buff duration. Finally, Qingque profits a lot from having an SP positive Sunday if you can get his S1. Here you also have the option of running a high speed Sunday or running a -1 speed setup. The focus on crit is greatly appreciated as she already has a bunch of damage and attack steroids in her own kit. Extra ults also ensures she can do her full max skill into ult, into enhanced basic, into autarky combo much more often. Onto another category in the medium synergies now with our stacking based ultimate carries, Feixiao and Acheron. These two units cannot use any of the energy from Sunday, which first creates an anti-synergy. But the fact that he has an immediate action advance then mitigates this problem, as tons of extra turns means tons of extra stacks, aka their energy. Feixiao's current best hypercarry team, if you're not into the dual DPS shenanigans, is a sustainless comp of Feixiao, Bronya, Robin, March, Hunt. Even with March though, the skill points can be rough and forces some basics from Feixiao. With Sunday on board, you'd get more Feixiao skills off and thus even more follow-ups. And again, Sunday has better buffs to boot, even if the energy cannot be utilized by Feixiao. You could also Sunday ult on Robin and sacrifice some SP and power at the start of battle to get an immediate concerto after your first rotation. As for Acheron, she loves the Robin Zhao Cho team. She just loves Zhao Cho as a unit in general, with a great harmony unit. But what felt stronger in my testing was Sunday Zhao Cho, and I think he's her new best harmony unit. Again, no energy like Feixiao, but the double turns on Acheron E0 S1 say otherwise for ultimate generation. So let's now compare Robin and Sunday's /Dream generation potential. With Robin Zhao Cho, we get 1 from Acheron tech, Gallagher gives none. Zhao Cho then gives 2 on his first turn with the skill and ult, Acheron gets 2 on her skill. Then Gallagher gives 2 with ult into enhanced basic, Zhao Cho gives another 1, Acheron another 2. And then Robin ults. Gallagher none, Zhao Cho another 1, Acheron 2. We have a total of 13. Combined with her A2, that's 18 for 2 ults minimum, not including enemies. With Sunday Zhao Cho, we get 1 from Acheron tech, Gallagher none, Zhao Cho 2, Acheron 2, Sunday none, Acheron 2. Then Gallagher 2, Zhao Cho 1, Acheron 2, Sunday none, Acheron 2. This is 14, which is 1 more than Robin, despite the fact that we get the bonus action on Zhao Cho from Concerto. This is because at Acheron E0 S1, and E2 further reinforces this, Acheron's own /Dream generation is quite high, and so having 4 turns rather than 3 contributes to more overall. What I also enjoy is not relying on quid pro quo energy and or RNG enemy hits. In fact, removing Gallagher quid pro quo from the equation, which is needed for the Robin combo, now lets us run better sustains with even higher debuff potential, for example in E0 S1 Aventurine. So better SP, better hyper buffs, less reliance on RNG, and overall more debuff stacks by a tiny margin, but that margin will increase as the fight goes on. So I prefer Sunday to Robin here, and also to Sparkle, and also to E2 Bronya because even with S1 Sunday on her, the SP is tight with Zhao Cho, and her buff downtime is rough. And yes, this applies to E2 Acheron as well. In my tests, Sunday was also faster, but that is anecdotal. I would wait for more showcases though if you want to see how good Sunday is for Acheron, rather than just listening to me. And regardless if you have Sparkle and or Robin already, Acheron runs just fine with them, it's a marginal increase with Sunday, and I don't think it's worth a pity. Zhao Cho would be the higher priority pool for Acheron players anyway if they want to upgrade her. Now for some sustains in the medium synergy list. These are Gallagher and Huohuo. For Gallagher, the Mosquito team gets an upgrade with Sunday for 1, and in general outside of this, Gallagher's SP generation just makes Sunday's life even easier. He may have better SP generation at E0 S1 than Sparkle does when she's not equipped with Sunday's cone, but that doesn't mean the team's overall SP economy is better. Anyway, on top of all this, Gallagher quid pro quo greatly synergizes with the Sunday Robin combo, which is an insane one, and he also synergizes with a bunch of the higher tier units in the list. Huohuo's battery power leads to more Sunday ults and DPS ults, and more Sunday ults also equals more DPS ults, you get the idea. Huohuo also provides attack, which usually isn't much, but because Sunday lacks any of it, it is actually quite a treat here. Finally, Sunday's SP generation can lead to better uptime on Huohuo's healing if you're struggling with that. Nearly done on the medium synergies with what I call enabled DPS. Himeko and Herta can both be run as main DPS with Sunday and benefit greatly. However, they can also be run as sub DPS and benefit from Sunday doubling the main DPS actions. Extra breaks from the main DPS means more Himeko follow-ups, and likewise if the enemy drops below 50% HP for Herta. Problem though is the lack of team-wide buffs for these teams, but I'd still count these units as medium synergies because of their versatility. And finally, for medium synergies, I'm putting Sparkle and E0 Bronya. I talked about their combo potential a lot, and even if sometimes it can be annoying with buff uptime, it still works. They are still harmonies and still hyper buffers with action advance. Sparkle can run ahead of Sunday for lots of actions for a base speed DPS. This allows you to get a -1 speed setup on Sunday while still keeping the power of a fast Sparkle and allowing your DPS to run base speed. Sparkle's buffs do run out by the second DPS turn, but if they are an ultimate base carry, they can still make great use of the 2 Harmony units buffs stacked for an explosive amount of damage, and some later turns will have both buffs regardless. The major problem being if you're a summon carry. With all these extra turns and energy from Sunday, they'll be able to regain their ultimates real quick too. With Bronya instead of Sparkle, it's a similar concept, except Bronya goes behind Sunday, and the DPS gets more turns than with Sparkle at the cost of higher SP usage. Not much else to say about this combo, but I'll talk more about her later when considering E2 to E6. She can also advance Sunday if her benefits aren't enough for the main DPS. For example, her buffs are going to fall off in the case of follow-up units. This lets the team also generate more SP since Sunday will take another turn, and you also get more energy for Sunday. In the case of Jing Yuan, for example, you'd also get another Lightning Lord, which, even if it had only 3 to 5 stacks, it's still a big multiplier and still has buffs from Sunday. Onto big synergies. These units are ones that can abuse multiple parts of Sunday's kit very well and or have some of their kit's problems solved. I first really like Win Dan Heng with Sunday. Dan Heng's talent gives himself a large res pen buff of nearly 40% at level 12. At E2, it has a cooldown of only 1 turn. Sunday can activate this extremely easily off cooldown with his -1 speed setup. But the real source is that Dan Heng can technically bypass the cooldown by ulting at the start of his turn. Meaning you can get Dan Heng res pen ult, normal skill, Sunday skill, Dan Heng res pen skill. If you have another buffer, you can Sunday ult in between with some external energy like a Dan Heng kill, and then you can replace the res pen skill with a second fully buffed ultimate. He may not be a modern DPS, but this packs a punch with all the buffs. Dan Heng's E4 also lets him take an extra action after defeating an enemy with an ult. Not only will Sunday's long buff duration help his extra action, but he will help him do this more often in the first place with his energy gifting mechanic. Sure, his next turn after won't be buffed, but you're getting this extra buffed action 75 AV earlier than that anyway, so it frontloads a lot of his damage. Misha has a great synergy with Sunday next, as he is all about consuming SP and wants to take a load of turns. He is also an ultimate focus carry, so it's kinda perfect. Even if Sunday recovers SP, the skill still initially consumes it, allowing for Misha's hits per action to stack up quickly. So we have an easy maximal hits per action for his ults, double actions for Misha's skills which give even more hits, and just more Misha ults in general. More ults are more E6 procs, more freezes, more death shred chances, and just a lot of damage, since it is most of his kit's power budget. He can also finally abuse the Sparkle into DPS into Sunday into DPS combo, as he can ult just before this second turn and use both Harmony units buffs. Seele loves Sparkle and thus also loves Sunday. Since Seele is going to be too fast and might waste the power of a hyperspeed Sparkle, we run her behind Seele post speed buff, just like Sunday would with traditional DPS. What this means is we get a more accurate comparison out of the two, as they are both in the same setup, and here Sunday provides double the advance on top of better buffs and SP generation. Sunday's crit rate ensures that one-hit ultimate won't be missing crits anymore, finally, and his energy will allow for more ultimates in general. And ultimates are really key to her kit, as they enable her high damage percent buff and res pen, whilst also getting kills for extra actions. Dr. Ratio can be run with a dual DPS like Topaz or Morza, but he can also be run as a hypercarry. In fact, a lot of people preferred this back in the day, and now it makes a return with Sunday. Ratio has some disgusting multipliers locked behind his follow-ups, and doubling his actions as well as giving him more ultimates for said follow-ups is just an amazing synergy. Not to mention his energy cost was always really annoyingly high. Without considering any kills, we can now get a first turn ultimate on Ratio thanks to Sunday's ultimate, whilst also getting a 3-turn ultimate afterwards. Kills just make it better. For debuffs, you'd then ideally want a Jiao Cho and then a sustain of Gallagher or Aventurine. Funnily enough, this creates a powerful, fully male team for those husbando lovers. Blade next, as he is one of the only units that can truly abuse the Bronya Sunday combo, where you get 6 actions in the first cycle with decent buff uptime. With E2 Bronya, he can even run this with HP boots, and with E6 Bronya, the uptime becomes even better. But anyways, this is just like Infinite Blade works from before with Sparkle, but with better buff uptime. Before, you would advance Blade with Bronya, and the previous buffs from Sparkle would be no longer. Finally, Sunday having no attack buffs at all and having all of his budget elsewhere is actually perfect for non-attack scalers, or at least really weak attack scalers like Blade. And I think this could become relevant if we get death-based DPS and more HP-based DPS in the future. Jingliu up next, another older DPS that gets a boost from Sunday. One initial problem is the 20% crit rate may make building her even harder. You'll have to stack only crit damage and attack past 30% crit rate, which requires great substat luck. But outside of that, Sunday's benefits are immense. Jingliu advances herself when entering the spectral transmigration state, which thus decreases buff durations. So Sparkle and Bronya, for example, both lose their 1-turn buff, whilst also losing their ultimate buff durations by 1. Sunday's skill is 2 turns long, the CR is 3 turns, and his ult is based on his turns. Basically, every spectral transmigration turn is now nearly fully boosted by the Harmony supporting her, no more downtime. Well, until you consider more single target advanced supports. But a bonus I really like is the energy. Considering she ults at the start when entering the spectral state, 3 enhanced skills and a Sunday ult with a bit of external energy or a kill results in another ult, aka a ton of damage, another Synergy stack, and another extra enhanced skill. Argenti is all about ultimates and is also just a traditional hypercarry. So combining a Bronya and Jing Yuan in one unit is evidently pretty strong for him. Not only that, he can abuse multiple Sunday combos. You can run Sparkle and Sunday for massive ult damage and chill SB economy, whilst also running attack boots to Argenti. You can also run Sunday and Robin for permanent buff uptime on off-turn ults that do happen often in pure fiction. Or even Sunday Jiao Cho, since the ultimate damage amp is up all the time too. Our final somewhat regular hypercarry unit in the big synergy section is Yunli. Clara gains a lot from Sunday, but Yunli goes a step beyond with her high reliance on ultimates, high damage ceiling, and the small extra bonus of gaining more than 40 energy. Also, again, I forgot to mention during the main guide, but you run Hyperspeed Sunday with base speed Yunli. The concept is the same as Clara. More ultimates is exactly what she wants, and the hyper buffs are top tier whilst also remaining for any following counters. Also, not gonna lie, the cleanse is really nice for her sometimes. To finish with Yunli, my theory crafter friend I was chatting to about on this video is also a dedicated Yunli enjoyer with a massive Yunli master sheet. And he finds Jing Yuan and Sunday E0S1 to be superior to Robin Topaz, both at E0S1, and Robin E0S1 Jing Yuan, and even Sparkle Robin, both at E0S1. A new best team should be something like Yunli, Sunday, Jiaoqiu or Robin, then Huohuo. Finally, we have a couple of what I call symbiotic units. This is a bit like Herta or Himeko that get enabled from a unit, but they also enable said unit. So Topaz and March 7th Hunt here. Topaz is enabled from follow-up DPS, and them DPS taking many more actions thus results in even more Numby advances. It won't be as many as Robin could provide due to her advancing the whole team, but it's a synergy nonetheless. Not to mention any summon units that count as follow-ups, aka all of them so far, will also be advanced by Sunday and thus can help speed up Numby actions. And Topaz can have a permanent 1.5 times multiplier increase to follow-ups on a single target, allowing all those bonus actions to still gain a massive benefit without any downtime. But another reason I put her here is because of her new buff to her hypercarry team. She isn't really designed to be a hypercarry at E0, but Sunday buffs it a ton nonetheless. Sunday will advance Numby behind Topaz even if Numby was previously ahead, which can be annoying sometimes, but won't happen too much actually in a fully hypercarry team, and I kinda doomed her in the guide because of that, my bad. Now even if it does happen, the high damage percent from having a summon, the potential of E1 Sunday, and the immediate advance in other situations can all make up for it. She still isn't going to be outperforming Feixiao or Boothill in the hunt path, but she definitely feels like a cool carry with Sunday on board. Now March 7th Hunt is a peak symbiotic DPS unit. She provides tons of attacks for units that need it. She has decent damage herself, and she provides buffs for her fellow DPS. She is very SP positive and has a wide spread of utility with stuff like toughness ignoring and speed buffs. Now, the thing that enables her is also having lots of attacks from her Shifu. And what better way to make that even faster than having an immediate action advance on the Shifu? This is what creates the Mosquito comp with March Hunt, Bronya, Robin, Gallagher. With Sunday in the equation, we have an even better team by replacing Bronya. But we can also now run Lingsha instead of Gallagher. Before this, you wouldn't dream of doing so, but the extra SP and immediate advance on Fu Yuan means we get way more attacks than Gallagher could ever get, and therefore more March charges. And hey, you can even run Critcha here, since she'll be buffed by both March and Sunday. But that's not all. March Hunt runs in a lot of teams, and another great example is the Feixiao one from earlier. Now we can run Feixiao, Robin, Sunday, March Hunt as a tremendous Feixiao hypercarry team. I mean, it still could count as dual DPS, but it is all about buffing Feixiao and spamming flying Ori stacks for her. For another big synergy DPS, I have Boothill. Now, when I put him in big synergy, that's just because he already uses Bronya insanely well, and Sunday is just an upgrade. If you have Bronya, you're okay with SP usage, and you're happy with her, you can stick with her. Also, Fugue is coming soon, and her early video should be out before Sunday's banner ends, so I recommend waiting for info on her before doing anything. But anyways, Sunday doesn't do much extra for Boothill in his standard team, since he's all about those breaks, but the extra ultimates can really help him out. For example, he can first turn ultimate with Sunday, and this could let him break a tough enemy even faster, or it could let him get to his maximum pocket trick shot on turn 2. The extra ultimates means better survivability as well as better break and better help into non-physical weak enemies. Just a bunch of nice bonuses. This can help you run no sustain, which further boosts Boothill's teams. And the extra SP of S1 Sunday helps this out even more. What you can also do is run Bronya and Sunday. And because we don't care about the damage buffs, since again, all about break, we can do a new combo. Sunday E0 S1 generates 0.66 SP a turn. If we did Boothill, then Sunday, Boothill, then Bronya, Boothill, we would get damage buffs on Boothill, sure, but we can do something better with this guy. If we instead do Boothill, Sunday, Boothill, Bronya skill onto Sunday, Sunday, then Boothill, we get a couple bonuses. Pulling Sunday forward first instead of Boothill gives us an extra skill from Sunday for more SP, and it gives us an extra skill worth of energy for Sunday for even more Boothill ultimates. So whilst it looks like Sunday power creeps Sparkle and Bronya, time will tell if cool combos like this actually keep them relevant. Speaking of Bronya, for big synergy I'm putting E2 and E6 Bronya. E2 Bronya follows the E0 Bronya combo from before, but with the extra bonus of being able to run your DPS at pretty much base speed. You'll need them at 105 to 107 speed, and Bronya's skill will keep them ahead of both Sunday and Bronya. As for E6 Bronya, it's evident that having another turn of buff durations just makes the Sunday Bronya combo even better. Really strong duo to have if you can make the SP work. E2 Imbibe to Lunae is here in high synergies, maybe even extreme synergy, whereas E0 Lunae would be medium to high. At E2, this unit still adores energy, but now also adores consuming your precious buff uptime. Sunday is here to save the day with his buff durations and energy, on top of amazing hypercarry buffs. The energy from Sunday is just immaculate for Lunae, and he will be getting so many kills that you can just spam ultimates out the wazoo. Ultimates do give him extra turns, but the 3 Sacrocenter points make EBA 3s not an issue anyway. And finally, Lunae has some insane multipliers, but it's hard to always abuse them, and Sunday makes it so much easier, as well as making his crit ratio obscene. All you need is a high attack buffer paired with him, and you have a monstrous DPS that can roll content like a brand new unit again. Now, you might be thinking about SP problems, right? But the thing is, we can reuse our Bronya combo from back on his release. Normal BA into Sunday skill into EBA 3 on Lunae is a devastating combo. Not to mention that the first turn will be generally unbuffed anyway, as we're talking about E2. Let's see why. Normal BA into Sunday skill into EBA 3 into ult into EBA 3, and all buffs are present. But then he gets his next turn for the second rotation, and oops, Sunday skill buff has been worn out. That lets us normal BA just like the previous rotation. It's finally onto the extremely synergistic part of the video. We have 4 units here, 1 main DPS, 1 sub DPS, 1 harmony, and 1 sustain. Starting with the main DPS, it has to be Jing Yuan. And because I already went a ton into it on the main guide video, I won't repeat it all here. What you need to know about Sunday is that he fixes a lot of Jing Yuan's problems, and I mean properly fixes them. Jing Yuan keeps getting minor buffs here and there with new relics and planars, but you'd have to refarm everything, and most of the time it's just small percentage buffs. So whilst the memes of him getting buffed every patch are funny, it is only until Sunday's release where he actually got a true boost. A true harmony made for him and his archetype, well, at least until Remembrance main DPS come out. Sunday coming out also enables new synergies for Jing Yuan that previously were a bit trickier or weaker, and I am really happy for him. He is also the best use case right now of E1 Sunday, being the best summon hypercarry that he is. Now the sub DPS I think gains a lot of value from Sunday is Jade, another symbiotic DPS. The first big example is the Jing Yuan Sunday Jade team. Having an AoE DPS be advanced and thus contribute double the charges is already nice, but when a summon also gets advanced, it's charge heaven up in here. She self-buffs a ton and attacks a ton, but the hypercarry focus buffs aren't really a problem. And besides, even without buffs, Jade can pop off in pure fiction versus the fodder, and she can help break and do decent damage versus Sunday Apocalyptic Shadow. And finally comes our sustain synergy, which I'm continuing with the topic of Jade. Lingsha is here in the high synergies with Sunday, but I'm only putting her here because of the Lingsha Jade Sunday Robin team, which is a very expensive team. Without Jade, I'd consider Lingsha around medium or high synergy. Lingsha is a secret or not so secret erudition unit with healing capabilities, allowing her to be the sustain and the carry in one. This lets her run more damage buffers than any other unit outside of risky zero sustain setup, and running 2 to 3 harmonies offsets her lower multiplier and leads us to crit share. Now, I said in her original video I'd wait for the summon meta, and boy did Sunday make an impact. But again, only really because of Sunday as well as Jade. Anyways, this team is like the Mosquito team, a near perfect synergy of all units. Lingsha is the best deck collector for Jade when paired with Sunday. Every turn can be up to 5 charges, and every Fuyuan turn can do the same, not to mention random emergency Fuyuans. Sunday advancing both Lingsha and Fuyuan means a possible 10 charges per Sunday turn. Add his energy on top and you have an immediate action advance for Fuyuan for 15 total charges. And a crit Lingsha boosted by Sunday and Robin has some very nice damage output. So then Jade attacking a ton is great, and she also provides skill points, but what about her damage? Sunday is all hyper-focused. Well, first, she self-buffs a ton and has meaty base multipliers. But secondly, that's where Lingsha's sustaining capabilities come in clutch. She can allow Robin to join the team and give both units immense buffs. And all these attacks happening over and over again spam Robin's energy trace and improve her own ult uptime. And Robin ulting allows for everything to happen all over again. Lingsha into Sunday into Lingsha into Fuyuan into Robin into Lingsha into Sunday into Lingsha into Fuyuan, and yet Jade attacked like 50 times. As said earlier, Lingsha also has a new Mosquito team with Sunday as well if you're into that and don't have Jade. But this new Sun Jadesha team is peak and can wipe the floor with Sunday Apocalyptic Shadow, the TV Gang MOC, and any pure fiction. It's a 3 endgame mode threat. And last but not least is Robin. If you didn't watch the video, I mentioned her name like 29 times, and yes, I did do Control F to find that. 2 major reasons for her here. 1, her aura buffs enable the many actions that DPS can now take with Sunday to all be fully buffed with no problems of uptime. 2, her advancing the whole team creates a whole extra rotation of DPS Sunday DPS, and since Sunday E0 S1 isn't an SB black hole like Bronya, this works so much better. She has so many teams she can run with Sunday, and I do think we will get a replacement for her in these teams with high buffs one day. But if you want many turns with tons of buffs, there's not usually anything better than a Sunday Robin duo, also known as the Charmo National Team. Yes, I'm sorry in advance for this name. Some units may prefer a Sparkle Sunday combo for big ultimates, or a Sunday Bronya combo for even more actions, but a lot of units like the brother and sister duo. It does help that she is one of the best units in the game right now. Anyways, this is my longest video ever and took a ton of work and research, so if it helped, please consider liking, subbing, and sharing to friends. Thanks so much for watching, as well as to my amazing YouTube members, and have a Guoba day.